So I think the number one issue, as many people in Miami-Dade County know who want to open a business, because, hey, who doesn't want to live in Miami, right? It is the worst permitting system, not only in Florida, but in the country.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're back with Jacobs PC in this beautiful, beautiful Lana estate, the real deal. And I have with me a special guest, Felix from F&B Hospitality Brokerage. Look, Felix, I'll give you the little left and right of me, okay? We're a bankruptcy commercial litigation firm. We're starting out in Florida, and we're hearing a lot of pain coming out of the hospitality market. You know, you're in the game. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about what you're doing.
So, I run one of the biggest hospitality brokerages in Florida. We represent about 120 exclusive restaurant clients. Our job more than that is to educate the community on opening in Florida, how to succeed in Florida, and whether or not they even have a chance to make it in Florida.
So you were telling me off camera about that these, I guess, hospitality companies that have restaurants, that have other places, food service and beverage, right? That's what we're talking about here?
Yes.
And they're debt laden, right? And they're having these debt problems. Tell us about that. Why is that? Where is that coming from? What's the cause, and what do we do about it?
So I think the number one issue, as many people in Miami-Dade County know who want to open a business, because, hey, who doesn't want to live in Miami, right? It is the worst permitting system, not only in Florida, but in the country.
So you can't permit yourself very quickly. That means that if you took from your cousin, from your mother, from the SBA, and you're trying to open up, you can't open up as fast as possible, but your debt payments has already begun. Is that what you're trying to kind of say?
Most likely, I'll kind of give you an average breakdown of what I see. So usually, you want to open that dream restaurant, that dream nightclub, that dream bar. You saved up, you borrowed money from friends and family. You're ready to go. You got your branding, you got your furniture picked out. Unfortunately, you sign a lease only to find out, and the landlord will give you a year to build out. A lot of those landlords know that you're not going to be able to open in a year. So 1 year passes, you're not even close to being permitted. You're going to spend a whole nother year paying rent, not being able to open. You're going to be one step behind, because now all the purveyors you wanted to use, all that great furniture and equipment you wanted to do,
right.
You can't do it. We have restaurants that we know of in Miami who have spent $1.8 million, and they're never going to open.
And do they know that?
Of course not.
All right, so they're kind of putting in this dream of like, okay, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. So they have this faith, right? So who are the people that they talk to kind of traverse that terrain? Do they talk to you? Do they talk to their accountants? Do they talk to their lawyers? Who do they speak to about this?
So usually I have walked away from so much money by just giving good advice and real advice, because for me it's about the long run, and it's about building a strong community. And in terms of I want good concepts. I want concepts that are going to make it. I don't want turnover in my area. So it's really just about who wants to earn commission these days. It's about landlords that want restaurants to improve their space, where they can just take the keys back and double the rent. It's about, brokers that, and again, I have nothing against making money, but if you're going to lead somebody down the wrong path just to earn a half a commission for when they sign a lease, and not being able to earn the second half when they open, and you just keep, turning and burning, that's a problem. And I feel that in Miami, that's what's been going on a lot for the last couple of years.
So your perspective is actually very fresh. You're talking to these individuals and you're saying, look, you have to be straight. You cannot say to these individuals that you're going to open up so quickly, then you're going to negotiate so fancifully. But the real issue here is going to be, how do we answer that question? How do we get them that help? So what we do at our firm is, say you come to us and you're brokering a deal, 10,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet. The guys put in $2.5, $3.5, $4.5, $5.5 million. They don't know whether they're going to open up. What we do as attorneys is we're also value-add attorneys.
Right.
We're coming down here into the Florida market because there aren't a lot of players that are being as transparent as your brokerage is.
Right.
And I really appreciate that. I've been following you on social media for a very long time.
Thanks.
And I found it very valuable about you saying, hey, we're not only closing, but there's causes for those closures. And I think it's transparency. That's number one. Number two, it's lack of information. And number three, it's lack of fortitude, understanding what the actual forward-looking thoughts should be.
Right.
And I think what they should be is education. Educating the consumer or the public, the business consumer, about how to run a business, open a business is very, very important. That's what we try to do at Jacobs CC as attorneys. But not often, oftentimes it doesn't work out.
Right.
Because when they're in your hands already, that space is actually closed down.
Right.
Or that guy's already debt laden, right?
Right.
Or that guy can't get out of his predicament with his partner. What do you do differently as a brokerage to give them resources to go somewhere for that help? What do you do?
I think it's really just about the team that we have and how we consult. As I look after clients' money, like if it was my money, whether it's the attorneys that we'll use, which will be you moving forward from now
Thank
on,
you.
as I think you're actually going to be a great tool and a great, great segue into what they're going to do and expanding and going in and making sure. Me and you're kind of very similar, where we're advising to make sure that they don't fall in the hole and to look after their best interest, no matter what it costs. So I think that's really,
the resource that you're going to use.
Yeah.
So attorneys are a very good resource, but not a lot of attorneys know how to be a counselor. They know how to be an advocate. And there's two differences between an attorney who is an advocate and an attorney who is a counselor. A counselor is someone that sits with you and has the real discussions outside of the camera roll about what are your objectives? How are you going to get to the other side? How are you going to traverse through that pain? And then there's the advocacy part where you have to advocate on behalf of the client.
Right.
What we do best is we counsel. Advocating is really a very small portion of what you have to do. It's kind of going into war. It's really the last resort. Counseling should be the first thing.
That's
and
right.
I think that's where F&B Hospitality Brokerage and Jacobs VC have come to understand that we have a commonality. We'd like to counsel our clients, right? That's what they are, our clients, for that success. And I think if we do that more, there'll be more pleasure in the process of that business, because they're really looking for maybe not a helping hand, but a guide to take them through that. But would it surprise you if I tell you, and I'll give you a little anecdote. Let's work through a little anecdote, okay?
I love anecdotes.
Okay, so somebody comes to you and they're taking over a space that was really popular in the 2015, 2016, 2017 market. It's been closed for a little bit. There's a developer. His niece wants to open up a new concept, pink flamingos, let's put it.
Sure.
Right? And she wants to put in $5 or $6 or $7 or $8 million. She's a novice investor, but she has the backing from a developer in Miami, which is a common theme here.
Right.
And she comes to you, right? And she says, hey, I want to find a space. Tell me how you're going to help her do that, and what advice would you give her?
Well, right out the gate, number one, the biggest pitfall that we're seeing right now, you said 2015 it's been closed. 2019 is when, the DERM passed the new code about upgrading the grease traps. Now, everybody in the hospitality business knows that the grease traps is the number one delay of any place opening. So right out the gate, expect anywhere between 6 to 12 months just to upgrade the grease trap.
Wow.
So right out the gate, we're
That's
looking.
What you would tell her. That's what you would
100%.
tell her.
And right out the gate, we would just be like, let's find a place that closed after 2019, because chances are they probably updated their grease trap.
That's actually very important to know. It's actually very
so there you
important
go.
to know. So let's take an anecdote from my side.
Sure.
Say she opened it up, she took your advice.
Right.
She found a space post 2019 was good with good grease traps. She's making volume of about $10 million a year, running a profit. Let me ask you a question. What's the typical profit range for a good restaurant business?
So that number unfortunately lowered, and that's what a lot of people don't get. Everybody wants to do the sexy concept, but a lot of people don't really run the numbers. We have the New Yorkers that will come here and be like, we're going to show them how it's done. Unfortunately, the numbers here are not like the numbers in New York.
Would you say 10 to 15, 20 to 25?
I would say
what's the margin? What's the gross profit?
The new number is probably something between 20 and 22.
Okay, so a good running business in Miami is running on a 20 to 22% profit margin.
That's correct.
Okay, let's drop that profit margin in half, okay? We'll name her Sally. Sally is, not having trouble. She's at a 10, 12% margin.
Right.
She comes back to you. She has a 10-year lease.
Right.
Okay? Watch where I meet you in the middle.
I love
here,
it.
okay?
I think I see where this is going.
Watch me meet you in the middle.
Love it.
So she's at 10 to 12%. She comes to you and she says, look, I got a $10 million value. The value of the lease is $10 million. I'm paying $10,000, $20,000 a month. It's not tough, but I want to make my margin a little bit greater, okay? I have a personal guarantee,
Yep.
okay? I have a personal guarantee. It's out, 3 or 4 years.
Is it a rolling guarantee or
Well,
all the hook?
we'll talk about that. So you'll tell me about Sally,
All right.
okay? So she comes back to you about 3-4 years. She's not necessarily running a big profit.
Yep.
You know the numbers. What are you going to tell her? And then I'll tell you what I'll tell her.
Number one, any lease that you sign, it should be 10% of whatever you're expecting your sales to be. Anything over 10, you're really going to dig yourself further in the hole. Number two, I hope that the guarantee that you have is a rolling guarantee and you're not on the hook for the entire term. Now, if you are on the hook for your entire term, what I would recommend is, as long as you got a good deal, as long as your price per square foot is under market, as long as you have a long time term, and as long as you can reassign your lease is actually worth money. That where you could actually sell your space for something that we call down here key money. That you could actually wind up exiting with a profit because you used your attorney firm to sign a good deal.
All right. So let's take away from Sally some of the finer points that you just said. Let's say that she has a full term guarantee.
All right.
Okay, let's make it real dark here. She has a full term guarantee. Her profit margin is about 10%. She gets sick, someone dies, she has a kid. Now things are changing, right? She comes back to you and she says, well, I have a full term guarantee. I got a 10-12% margin. I'm sick. I want to exit the business. What do you tell her?
A couple things. Number one, that the landlord, technically, depending on the kind of landlord you have, I can't judge. We get a mixture of all kind. Some landlords who know that it's a ready-to-go space and that they could rent it out any day and get more money for it, they'll just release them from the guarantee because they know that they can get more money from that space. Or if they really are going to be, sorry, I use my words, dicks about it,
They can put her foot down, right?
you better have a good attorney.
Okay, good. So now we get to where my strategy is. So we at Jacobs PC we have sharp elbows, okay?
Yep.
So say she comes to you and she has not a nice landlord, all right?
Right.
Okay, so if she comes to us, so now what you do is, right, you tell Sally, look, this is the end of my rope here and where I can discuss things with you. I think you got to go talk to Leo. So ring, I pick up, Sally picks up the phone, you give her to me. This is what I would tell Sally, okay? I would ask Sally, hey, do you have a full-term guarantee?
Right.
She says, yes, I'm on the hook personally. I'm not having, a very good time with my child, it's sick,
Right.
so on and so forth. And the landlord is being a really nasty person to me.
Right.
What do I do? There is a provision in the bankruptcy code. Say she wants to go bankrupt,
Right.
okay? Or say she wants to restructure.
Right.
Let's first try to save her, okay? So we call up the landlord and we tell the landlord, listen, landlord, there's about 5 years left on this lease.
Right.
It's at or below market, okay? Would you release her if she pays you 6 to a year upfront of rent?
Right.
Now, I say that specifically because the law allows you, if you do go bankrupt, to exit your lease.
Right.
And the rule is you have to pay your landlord up front for a year or throughout some type of deal term
Right.
or deal time, and you can exit successfully. So all of a sudden, the law protects you.
Right.
Because the law says, in the event you're not doing so well, in the event that you're not doing so great, you could take use of 11 USC, and I won't bore you with the provision. It's the USC of the bankruptcy code that allows her to exit successfully without paying the full term of the lease. Now, there's another thing that's left there, which is the guarantee.
Right.
Now, the guarantee is a little different because it goes to the person themselves. So the landlord is going to tell Leo Jacobs,
Right.
myself, he's going to say, listen, you're a pretty smart lawyer. You know what? I'm going to go after her on that guarantee. I'm going to get every penny and every dime out of her. So what we would advise her, which is a separate person or a separate entity, we would tell Sally, look, Sally, we have to show that for the next 3 to 4 years, you're not going to be able to make your ends meet. And if you're able to prove per the IRS code that you are insolvent, that will go a long way to persuade the landlord in letting you off the hook. And that's what we do at Jacobs PC. We find out ways to let people out of their obligations in a very form-functioned way. A lot of times when individuals come to you, your advice may stop at a certain specific policy
Right.
that you know through the city. at a certain specific practice that you know with the city. You've given me a lot of knowledge, actually, about how to deal with individuals with the grease traps and the timelines and what you should do and you shouldn't do.
Right.
I mean, I had a tremendous time talking with you also today and learning a lot about that. But know that there is a light at the end of your tunnel and at the end of your take when you're passing off to a good attorney. Any thoughts about that?
I think you're going to do very well down here with that kind of attitude. I think you're going to be a really strong asset to FMB, and I can't wait for you to come down here and work together.
Well, we appreciate you, Felix, as well. It was a long time coming. I've been
absolutely.
following you for a while.
Appreciate it.
I know there are people that are in trouble, and those that are not in trouble, we have services for them as well in terms of transactional leasing, litigation with their partners, and whatnot. Bankruptcy is one of our main areas, but we do view it as a macro issue, not as a micro issue. We wish Sally the very best, although it's a hypothetical.
Go Sally.
Yeah, go Sally. Very nice to meet you.
My brother, it was a pleasure. Can't wait for you to come down here, man.